And hello, welcome to Solo Playthroughs. We got a really interesting one tonight. And that doesn't mean I don't think it's good. Sometimes I'm like, interesting is like that ambiguous word. You're like, is it going to be good? No, I think this is going to be great, actually. When I want to describe this game, the first word that comes to mind is it's just interesting. And I love it. I really, really like this game. It is definitely climbing up my list of games that I really enjoy. It will definitely make an appearance on my next top solo games video. Where? I don't know. You'll have to wait to see. But this is the Champions of Hara. And I don't know why I said champions so weird. The Champions of Hara. And it is just a zany game. And not zany like too many bones. Zany is probably not the right word. It's just interesting. Can I go back to interesting? It's just this nice catch-all word. I don't really know what's going on in this game. I haven't wrapped my head around the theme. I have both the base game and the expansion, and there are characters and there are monsters and there are events and there's a shifting world, and horror is like this crazy place, and it's got this like pseudo rock star stuff going on and all these different mythologies and different cultural things that are kind of thrown in, and it's just a crazy game. Is it Champions of Hara or Champions of Hara? I don't know. I'm going to say it interchangeably and someone can correct me in the comments. What really first put this on my radar was a review by Jason Moore, I believe it was. He is a deck of 51. He does reviews of solo games. So he's been in the solo gaming world for a while, and he compared it to Mage Knight. And I kind of get that a little bit. You know, Mage Knight is on a different level of game. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot harder to master. There is this idea of exploring around a map, running into enemies, and deterministic fighting that does come to the forefront on top of some card management. The card management here is very unique. It's got a really cool mechanic where you basically play a card on the table, it flips over, and now it's on the board. And when you play it on the board, it flips over and goes back to your hand. You have a certain number of activations a turn. It's more like ability management, more specifically than card management, but obviously the abilities are on cards. So however you want to call it, you have this unique hero. The heroes are way more asymmetric in Champions of Hara than they are in Mage Knight. And that's even considering how the mages in Mage Knight have, their different skills, two different unique cards if you have the expansion and so forth and so on. But the heroes here all have a unique resource. You have to manage that resource, and that will help animate some of your abilities or enhance some of your abilities. You are gathering new abilities, so you'll be able to level up as you go. And then you're also gathering items that will help you do the things you need to do, which would be like akin to the artifacts you get. Amazing. It's also scenario based with the win-loss condition, so that also adds to the feel of what kind of evokes a little bit of a Mage Knight vibe. And like Mage Knight, you can also play this competitive, cooperative, or solo. And if you want to play two-handed solo, it obviously doubles the amount of scenarios that you'll have access to, because basically each character has one solo scenario specifically designed for them. And I've only played the first two, but I assure you they are very much designed to test the strengths and really expose the weaknesses of the various characters from what I've seen in the first two. Now, if you want to play two-handed, it doubles the number of scenarios because there are more scenarios that are made for two players. There are these other figures that are the corrupted. I haven't actually had a scenario with any of these in, but they have their own stats and abilities and things that they do. So there's a whole lot to this game, a whole lot more that I need to explore and want to explore, and I'm excited to explore. Let me get this set up and start making sense of some of this as we go. Now, look, this is the board. The board is modular, as you can see, and there are 6 world tiles. So each of these things represents a world within the world of Hara. So you have the Arechi Wastes, you have the Bayou, you have the Dreer, you have Oakenmoor, you have Lunar Ridge, and you have Oppenheim. Now, the middle is not its own world. This is the dojo. So this is your home base. This is where you can end a turn. You'll gain health and spirit back, and we'll kind of talk about this and what this board is doing. This is where you track your health and your spirit as you go. The board has a very rigid setup. You'll see these symbols, and you'll see that you have 3 different colors. You have blues here, greens here, and reds here. So the Dreer and Oppenheim have to be across from each other. It does not matter if Dreer is up there or Oppenheim is up there and vice versa, as long as they're opposite each other. The Bayou and Oakenmore are opposite each other, and Lunar Ridge and Arechi Waste are opposite each other. They're going to be arranged according to these symbols. One thing I will say is a big mark against this game is the support from the publisher and the designer of this game are notoriously terrible, and that there are fundamental questions about how this game should go and how this game should be set up that have never been satisfactorily answered by the publisher and the designer. And a big part of the confusion comes into how these tiles are oriented next to the dojo, even if you have them in the right location. Because you'll notice that each of these world tiles has numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The rule book has a picture of the 1 and 2 hexes of each world touching the dojo all the way around. But in the description of the rule book, it says that 1 and 6 should be touching the dojo. Upon being asked a question, the designer has multiple times come out and said, no, that's wrong. It's supposed to be 1 and 2. So set it up like 1 and 2. But some of the scenarios don't seem balanced well for 1 and 2. Now, this is really advanced stuff for this game. And you'll see that some of these things will start moving. And by the end of the game, whether it started at 1 and 2 or 1 and 6, I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. But when you have conflicting answers from the designer and a publisher, and the designer is like, oh, wait, that might not be true for all scenarios, but never came back with an official answer as to what scenario should start with 1 or 2 or 1 or 6. So kind of the players are left saying, well, kind of do what you want. It's not ideal. I like rules. I like knowing rules. I like playing by the rules. I like feeling like I played the game the way it was intended. And there isn't a ton of clarity about how this game is intended to be played as much as there is for a game like Mage Knight or Spirit Island, where you have the support for the game that happened after the fact. This game is pretty much released. It has a pretty passionate following from what I can see on Board Game Geek and other solo communities. There's just this cloud over it of like, well, it'd be nice if the publisher and the designer cared about this game as much as the players did, just to some extent. I mean, I understand sometimes the player community can get a little bit much and be a little bit crazy. If there's genuine questions about how something should be done, it's nice to see someone like Eric Royce, who's like, hey, I'm going to create a website and manage it and maintain it to answer all your questions as much as I can. And then there's like this, where it's like, well, we're just kind of doing some guesswork about how this is supposed to be played. Now, all that to be said, that shouldn't come to bear at all in how this scenario plays out, right? This scenario makes sense with the 1 and the 2. I'm going to play all the scenarios I put on this channel and my own playing at home just for my sanity's sake. I'm always going to play with 1 and 2. That's how I'm going to set it up. Some of the scenarios are going to be a bit wacky and not that balanced, and it is what it is. In those scenarios, I just won't play very much, right? It's like there's some scenarios on Mage Knight I don't absolutely love because I feel kind of the same way about them. But there are really good scenarios in this game, and those are the ones that I look forward to discovering, to playing through, to getting good at, and to continue to come back to over and over in the years to come. Let me get into what the scenario goal is for this before I start doing setup, because setup for each scenario can be unique, and I don't want to mess any of that up. So I'm going to go to the back of the rule book, and I'm going to go to a scenario for the first champion. I said hero before. It is not a hero. It is a champion, kids. The first champion listed in the Champions of Hara. The first champion is not exactly sure of that's pronunciation, but I'm going to say Kaoru and Kuma. On his homeworld, Kaoru was an outcast among the warriors of his tribe. Due to his physical disability, Kaoru was denied the rights of manhood and deemed unworthy of his own bear companion. In his new life on Hara, Kaoru's creative spirit imbues him with the power to manipulate stones and soil, allowing him to build a powerful new arm and create his very own best friend, Kuma. Special resource is grit. So this is the Kaoru and Kuma card, and I'll put it on top of this little card here, and it says 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I should note that looks really far away and tiny on the camera. Why? Because this game is huge. All right? Make no mistake, there's only 7 tiles. This game is gigantic. I have the camera set up as far away as I can, just like I had to do for Anachrony, right? And that game is huge. This game is really, really big. It takes up a lot of my table. But anyway, back to the special resource. So what is grit? Kaoru has 4 points of grit per day, which resets back to 4 at the start of each dawn. Nice. So it sounds like you get it once per turn. No, dawn is every other of your turns. The way this game works, there are 6 days, but each day effectively has 2 rounds, and you have 1 turn per round. So you have dawn and then dusk, dawn and then dusk, dawn and then dusk, dawn and then dusk, dawn and then dusk. Again, little bit of a Maze Night vibe. Most of the scenarios in Maze Night have what? 3 days, 3 nights. That said, some of the scenarios are shorter, just like Maze Night, right? Maze Night has 4 rounds, 5 rounds for some of the scenarios. The first scenario we're doing today has 5 days, which effectively is 10 turns for us to get this task done. It is not going to be easy. Let's see if we can pull it off. When grit reaches 0, you may continue to use abilities by paying health instead of grit. 1 health equals 1 grit. So what that means is when I have an ability that requires me to use grit, but I'm already zeroed out, sorry, Mr. Kaoru, I'm going to take some of your health so we can do powerful magical things. And that is a thing that needs to happen. Well, what happens if you ever reach 0 health? Haha, well, you are killed. Game over. Thanks for playing. Now, you're allowed to die a certain number of times and you respawn. The number of times you can die depends on the scenario. So the first scenario today, we can die 3 times. If we die a 4th, bye-bye. And it might be only 2 times. I'll read the scenario rules and we'll confirm that. When you respawn in the dojo, you go back to your starting health, you go back to your starting spirit. We'll talk about those in a second. And you will lose some of your magic energy. What is that? Well, good question. Let's talk about the rest of this board. Again, health, spirit. In the middle, we have 3 different color columns. This is your magic energy. There is blue energy, there is red energy, there is green energy. Each champion also has a primary color, and I'll explain what that means. The primary color for Kaoru is green. Remember that. Whenever you get to the middle space, you'll see that little circle magical flower thing there. That is where you would get another power that corresponds with that color. So if I get up to the middle of green, I get to get a green power. I have 2 in here. I can choose the one I want. When I get to the middle of blue, I get a blue power. Middle of red, guess what? Yep, I get a red power. And there's one other power in my power deck here, which I will talk about in a second. That is the ultimate. And by a second, I mean a couple minutes. We can spend health as grit. And when respawning, Kaoru resets to 4 grit. So that is Kaoru and Kuma. And now we'll go to Kaoru's scenarios. So we'll go to the scenarios in the back, Kaoru scenarios. There is a 3-player scenario. There is a 2-player scenario. And then there is the making of a man solo. The Kensai, in all their wisdom, didn't know what to make of the young boy's request. Gender is all but meaningless in Hara. So I guess Kaoru showed up in Hara and the Kensai are people there. And he was like, look, I want to be made a man. And they're like, I don't know what that means because we don't have gender here, but we'll figure it out. They looked into Kaoru's heart and gave him what he thought he needed. Recommended corrupted. There is no corrupted or scenario effects for this time challenge. Great. Defeat all 7 boss monsters by the end of Dusk, day 5. Again, so we'll have 10 turns to try to do that. Loss. Each time you are defeated, gain a doom counter. If the number of doom counters equals or exceeds 3, you lose. Great. So we can only be defeated twice. And then if we're defeated the 3rd time, we're out. Special rules. This is a solo scenario just for Kaoru. Begin the game by searching the Dusk deck in each of the 6 world decks for their associated boss monster. In addition to normal spawns, place the world deck bosses on the number 3 space of the corresponding world tile. Keep the ancient Hydra off to the side. After defeating all 6 deck bosses, immediately spawn Hydra on the dojo. These are our 6 boss monsters. How do we know they're the boss monsters? Well, they have this little horned skull thing at the bottom of their card. They're going to go into the 3 space of the corresponding world. So this is the Oakenmore monster. He's going to go in the 3 space here. We're going to get the Dreer monster. He's going to go here. We're going to get the Oppenheim monster. It's going to go up there. If I can reach, again, it's huge. We get the Lunar Ridge monster. It goes here. We get the Erechi Wastes monster. It goes in the 3 there. And then we have the monster for the Bayou, and then we'll go over there. And then we have Ancient Hydra. So if we defeat those 6 monsters, then it comes down to, can we defeat Hydra? And again, we have to get this all done by the end of Dusk on day 5. Hydra came from the Dusk deck. Each world has their own deck, and then you have the Dusk deck. I'm going to shuffle this up. You'll see how this comes into play as we go. We also have one other deck off to the left. You'll see the World Shift deck. If you understand those words, you'll be able to predict what that deck actually does. It causes the world to shift. Very literally. And hopefully you have a steady hand because shifting the world is a thing. I'm lucky that I have giant hands that can pick up these giant tiles, which makes it a bit easier on me. So I'm going to shuffle the world shift deck, and we'll get that done and put that off to the side. And now we have to set up the decks for the various worlds. So Dreer, the boss monster for Dreer is Nyx and Erebos. Their abilities are armored, aggressive, and critical. Let me talk about abilities. Monsters can have up to 5 abilities. Aggressive means on your turn, this monster attacks as soon as you enter its space or it enters your space. How can a monster enter your space? We'll see that as we play. Ally. While in the same space as this monster during your turn, you may discard it and activate the ally ability instead of fighting it. That could be really helpful. Armored. This monster prevents all damage dealt at range 1 or more. You may still target it with abilities. So you effectively, unless you can counter the armored, which we'll see as we go, something that might come up during this playthrough, you have to be on their space to attack it. Now, Nyx and Erebos, it's really nasty, right? Because it's armored and aggressive. If it's armored, I need to be on a space to attack it. But if it's aggressive, as soon as I enter a space, it's going to attack me before I get to attack it. So that becomes a health management issue, right? Critical. Roll a die when this monster attacks. On a 5 or a 6, the monster critical effect occurs. If Nyx and Erebos attacks me, under any circumstances, I'm going to roll a die. If I roll a 5 or a 6, it's going to make me pick up an onboard card without activating it. And that can be pretty nasty. And you'll see what that means. The final keyword, which Nyx and Erebos does not have, is dangerous. Dangerous means if you are within this monster's range when it is defeated, it gets a final attack against you. Nasty, nasty, and nasty. To set the Dreer deck, I'm going to take a look at their event cards. There are 7. One of the annoying things about setup for this game, and there's not a lot, the setup's not awful, is that you have to go through each event deck and randomly discard 2 event cards, and then take those event cards that you have left in your hand, there'll be 5 of them, and shuffle them into the monster deck. I don't understand enough of the balancing of this game to understand why that's totally necessary. It basically doubles the amount of time it takes to set this game up because you have to sort the decks. You're shuffling out 2. If you want to reset a game, it just takes a long time. I'm not convinced you couldn't just not do that and just have an equally balanced experience. I don't know. It just seems like a wrinkle to add the variability that I don't think adds much positive to the game. That's just my 2 cents. I like to play games a lot when I'm learning them. I like to reset them quick and go again. And it's just not something you can really do with this game. You're really going to have to sort the decks, take out 2, reshuffle them in. And again, these tiles too aren't things I want to be shuffling a lot either, because it's not like I can put card protectors on these hexagons. It does kind of build in some extra annoying qualities to the game that are not ideal. Minor gripe is what it is. Just one of the, put that out there. So I have the 7 event cards from Arechi Waste. I'm going to take 2 of them out. Again, there are 5 left. I'm going to shuffle them in with the monsters from the Arechi Waste deck. And now let's talk about Greasebeard. Greasebeard only has 2 of those keywords. It's aggressive and critical. Again, what's aggressive? If I end up on its space, it attacks me immediately. What's critical? Well, when it attacks me, under any circumstance, it's going to roll a die. If it rolls a 5 or a 6, I have to discard an item if able. And these are the items over there. We will get to them. They're very cool. I like the mechanic for the items. So I've done enough shuffling here. Now, it does not matter if monsters or event are on top. It's just totally random. Let me talk about the monsters a little bit more while we're here. We have these 2. There are numbers up and down the sides of our little monsters here, our little boss monsters. Let's have some respect when we talk about them. There is the health number up at the left corner over here. So there's 6 health for Greaseboard, and to kill Greaseboard, we need to do 6 damage to it all in one turn. Again, like Maze Knight, it's all or nothing. You can kill it or you can't. All you got. So if you do 4 damage to it, great. It gets back to 6 health for its next turn. Nothing you can do about that. It does 2 damage when it attacks, and it has a range of 1. So that means it can attack if you're here or here. Range does not go through the spots that have the decks for the various worlds. You also cannot get attacked by monsters if you're in the dojo. So those are important notes to remember. Now, what's on this right side? Well, you'll see 5 different symbols. 4 of them are all color symbols, right? You have gold, you have blue, you have green, you have red. That is the amount of energy you get in the various magical disciplines. So if I killed Greasebeard, it gives me 0 gold, 4 blue, 1 green. So I'd move this up 4, I'd move green up 1, and I don't get anything in red. I don't get anything in gold. Well, what's gold anyway? There's only blue, red, and green here. Gold is wild. So if I killed Nyx, Nyx would give me 2,003. So I would get no blue energy, no green energy, and 3 red energy. Oh, and the 2 gold energy I can place anywhere I want. So if I wanted to get 2 more red energy so I can level up, if I really wanted to move up my primary color, because again, Kaoru's primary color is green, I'll explain that in a second, then I can move up on green. So that's really nice. Additionally, you'll see that 5th symbol down at the bottom is like a bag with a number in it. Now, it doesn't always have a number. A lot of the monsters actually don't. So even Ancient Hydra over here, no number there, but she gives you 7 gold energy. Thank you very much, Hydra. Assuming we get to you and hopefully defeat you. But that would end the game. So I wouldn't even get your 7 gold because the game would be over. But I digress. If I defeat Greasebeard, I get item number 23. If I defeat Nyx and Erebos, I get item number 25. So they're very specific items you get. The more you learn the game, the more you'll know what items you might want to get before what other items. I do not know the game all that well yet. From that standpoint, I've just really invested a lot of time in learning the mechanics and how to play. So we'll do a little bit of discovery as we go. I've seen most of this deck. I just don't remember what number equates to what at this point. I'm now going to shove up the Oakenmore deck. The Oakenmore boss monster is the Horrible Tangle. The Horrible Tangle has aggressive and it gives you special loot. So if you defeat it, in addition to the other stuff that you'll get from it, you will also get 3 spirit. It has 6 health. It attacks at a damage level of 3, and it has a range of 1. It will give you on defeat 1 gold energy, 1 blue energy, 2 green energy, and you get item number 22. So I should talk about targeting a little bit. Notice that this has a range of 1. I should have said earlier, Nyx and Erebos, they have a range of 2. I already mentioned that Greasebeard has a range of 1. At the end of all of your turns, you then check to see if you're in range of an attack of any monsters in any adjacent spaces. So if I was here, Nyx would get me because I'm 2 away from Nyx, but Greasebeard would not because while I'm also 2 away from Greasebeard, Greasebeard's range is only 1, Nyx's range is 2. So you do want to be careful where you end because there'll be more and more monsters on this board, and you could find yourself in a place where you're getting attacked by multiple monsters, and all of a sudden your 9 starting health doesn't look all that good after your first turn, and you just lost 6 of it because, you were careless and ended up in the wrong spot. So I'm shuffling up the Oakenmore deck right now. We'll get this on its appropriate spot on our little board here. We have an Oakenmore event right on top. And then we're going to go over to Lunar Ridge. Lunar Ridge, the boss monster, is the Tide Spirit. Looks a little bit like a narwhal without a horn, but has a freaking weird mask on. I don't know. These things are crazy. The art in this game is so interesting. Actually, let me show you the other side of these tiles. The other side of these tiles has a much more colorful array of stuff going on, but it's super, super busy. It's actually not recommended as you're learning the game because there's just so much going on and it can get a little crazy, but it's really pretty. So the Tide Spirit is dangerous. When you're dealt damage by this monster, you also have to lose 2 spirit. It only has a range of 1, and it gives you item number 18, 2 gold energy, 2 blue energy, and a red energy when you defeat it. So I'm going to shuffle up to 7 events from the Lunar Ridge deck. We're taking out 2, shuffling up this. That seems done. We'll put that right hither. Great. And now we're going to go to Oppenheim. So Oppenheim, the boss monster, is the Painted Duke. The Painted Duke is aggressive. Again, so if we enter its space, so it'll immediately attack us. It's dangerous, and it's critical. We saw that the Tide Spirit also is dangerous. What does that mean? And again, what that means is after we kill them, they will make 1 last attack on us if we are within range. And the Painted Duke, mind you, has a range of 2. It also has critical. So when it attacks me, I will roll a die. If it's a 5 or a 6, I will carry out the critical effect. In addition to the normal damage, the critical effect for the Painted Duke is that it does +1 damage. If I defeat the Painted Duke, I get item number 5, 0 gold energy, 0 blue energy, 2 green energy, and 3 red energy. And here I am. I've been shuffling up the monster deck for Oppenheim instead of the event deck. And what does that do for me? That does nothing for me at all. Just giving it a good shuffle, kids. All right. And now we have 5 of the events left. And we'll go ahead and put the events in with the monsters. And there's a monster on top. We'll put the Painted Duke back in its home on tile 3. Finally, last but not least, we have Murky Murk. Murky Murk, 6 health, does 2 damage when it attacks, range 1. It's got an especially troublesome set of keywords because it is aggressive. Again, we enter its space, it will attack, but its critical thing can be quite nasty. Critical, put Murky Murk back on top of the Bayou deck. What? Great. So that means you enter its space, it attacks you, and you're ready to kill it after it attacks you, but then it rolls a 5 or a 6, and guess what? It's put back on top of the Bayou deck, and you have no opportunity to kill it that turn. It's got to wait for it to come back out. I assure you, with only 10 turns, we will not have the time for that, so we're going to want to find a way to either kill Murky Murk from range where his aggressive doesn't trigger, or we want to try to find a way to negate that aggressive keyword, which, hint, hint, might be possible with the powers we will soon have. Hopefully soon have. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I'm shuffling the Bayou deck. Great. Now I'm going to take these items, put them back in one stack. And now let's talk a little bit more about Kaoru, and then we will be ready to go. So Kaoru has the keywords of reckless and durable. That doesn't mean anything. I think it's just a flavor of how he plays. And you have the instructions here that Kaoru and Kuma spawn at 9 health and 5 spirit. I already did that. Their primary color is green. Why does primary color matter? Well, every champion has their ultimate card. And you get the ultimate card a couple different ways during a scenario. Ultimate cards do cost you an activation once you carry them out. And I'll go through what Kaoru's ultimate card is when I gain it. They're really, really strong cards. You want to be sure you're being very smart in when you use them and how you use them in order to accomplish whatever the goal of the scenario is. I'm going to put the ultimate card and the other cards that I can level up to over here for when we need them. Why is the ultimate card relevant to the discussion about primary color? It's like, well, one of the ways you get the ultimate card is when you get your primary color all the way up to the top of the meter, which is 10. There's little faint numbers here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when you get to the top in your primary color is when you get your ultimate card. So if Kaoru, since her primary color is green, when he gets to the top, that's one way he can get his ultimate card. The rest of this card kind of matches with what we already read out of the book. Again, both the flavor text and then the instructions about the grit resource. Notice I've had this stone here the whole time. This stone I put on the Dusk of the third day. I do that because when you get to Dusk of the third day, that is one of the times that you will automatically get your ultimate card, assuming it's in your level up cards. If it's already in your hand, you get to Dusk on the third day. It's like, well, it's already in your hand and you can only have one. Now, there are other ultimate cards for each of the champions. They're unlocked as you play the other scenarios and multiplayer and stuff like that. I'm not that worried about it. It's not a part of the game I really want to explore all that much, at least not now. So for our purposes, there's one ultimate card and we want to try to use it strategically so that every time we can get it back, that it's in our level up pile and not stuck in our hand. And this stone is here to remind me, once I get to Dusk on day 3, hey, pick up your level up card. What are my starting cards? There's flavor text on the back of all of them. Kira's signature left's hook might cost him a pebble or two, but it always takes a couple of teeth. It's easy to win a race when you control the ground you're running on. Kyora's gift allows him to surf with stones and glide across the ground, and there are no limits to how far an imaginary friend will go for a child. Oh, so cute. Here we are with our starting cards. You know their starting cards, so they have the yellow boxes in the corners. The cards that you're leveling up to do not. When we start the game, you only have 4 abilities, and you only have the in-hand abilities. So again, I could put a thing down, that's an activation. Some of these cards have the word free. If an ability is free, it doesn't cost you an activation, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. Things get more interesting though when you have cards on the board and other cards in your hand. You get more level ups, and you'll kind of see all that develop really quick. So let me stop yammering and just get to it, right? So this little purple thing comes with the game. We'll use that to track what day we're in, and not only what day we're in, are we in dawn, are we in dusk, and go through the rhythm of a round. I will say that one of the really nice things about the expansion adds like 4 new characters, a bunch more scenarios, is that it has a really nice game flow chart. Of course, there was some errata on that because, you know, this game has some flaws, but it's still great. Trust me, or watch me and come to your own decision. So I'm going to have this game flow chart off to the side over here. I think that'll be helpful. And you'll see the fisheye thing happening. This is as high as I can get my camera. And that's just going to happen a little bit when I'm so far away. Pay no attention to the fisheyeing in the corners. or do. And I don't care if you like looking at fish eyes, and knock yourself out. So we're going to go ahead and go to the first dawn. What happens at dawn of every day? Well, the sun rises, birds sing. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Yes, sir. It's also a beautiful day to spawn some monsters. In dawn, you're going to take the top card of each world deck and you're going to flip it over if it's a monster and put it in a space with a number corresponding to what day it is. So it's day 1. So we're going to put the monster here. It is a dream hunter. It's dangerous. Again, it will attack upon defeat if you're in range. If we defeat it, we get 2 red energy. Nothing else on that card. So you'll notice that these monsters don't give you as much incentive to kill them as the bosses do, but they're also a lot easier to kill. This sucker only has 2 health. Erechi Waste, there's a monster on top of there. We're going to put that on the 1 spot in Erechi Waste. It is a blue riffling. Now, a blue riffling is an ally. As I read earlier, when you are on a space with an ally, I could either fight it to try to get the energy, or I could discard it to get the benefit. This ally, if I discard it, will give me 2 health. If I decide I don't really want an ally, I'm going to punch you in the face, you little blue riffling. Then you'll give me 2 blue energy. Seems like a fair deal for the riffling, I guess. I don't know. We have a monster up here in the bayou. It is a jug blower. Jug blower has 2 health. It attacks with 1. It doesn't have any range. Special loot, you gain a spirit. If you defeat it, you also get card number 11 and you get 1 green energy. I really want to get as much green energy as possible, as quickly as possible, to try to get my ultimate before the 3rd dusk, and maybe then use it and then get it back once we get the 3rd dusk. So that is an attractive monster for me to attack. Now remember though, Mr. Jug Blowers is within 2 of the painted duck, the painted duke. The painted duke has 2 range on its attack, so that is something to be wary of. We have the monster in Oppenheim, going to go on the 1 spot. It is a Mazaru. The Mazaru has 3 health. It attacks with 1. It has range 1. If you defeat it, you get 1 gold and 1 red. Special loot, you may steal 1 health from any player or corrupted. Well, that's not going to be very helpful to us because there are no other players or corrupted in this solo scenario. We're going to have a monster in Lunar Ridge. It is a Monshroom Walker. The Monshroom Walker is awesome because it is an ally and it gains you the item, the Monshroom Truffle. Alternatively, you can kill the Monshroom Walker and get 2 blue energy and a red energy, but I really want one of those Monshroomy Truffles. They're delicious, and you'll see why later, assuming I actually use that ally ability. Last but not least, in Okamore, we're going to get an event. So events you do not look at. Instead, you put them face down, and you are going to just leave them in the spot where you would have spawned a monster. Note that events are often a good way for you to get more energy, and note that the energy of events normally corresponds with the energy of the world they're in. Bayou and Oakenmore are rich in green energy, so going there and taking care of that event might be a good deal for us. What do I want to do? I'm going to take a look at my 4 cards and look at my options and decide which 3 activations I want to do on this turn. I think that the Jug Blowers only has 2 health, and I think it just makes sense to do some things about that. So I'm going to play my red card called Landslide. Choose any number of players or corrupted within range 3, including yourself. Move those targets each 1 space in any direction. So I'm going to play Landslide. That is one of my 3 activations for the turn. I'm going to turn it sideways to show that I have used it, and I'm going to move myself 1 space in that direction. Now I'm going to play Stone Claw. Its in-hand ability is I can deal 2 damage, range 1. It costs 1 grit. So my second activation, I'm going to deal 2 damage, range 1. It costs me a grit. My grit meter goes from 4, and I move it up to reveal the 3. There's only 3 left. And I'm doing 2 damage, range 1. I'm going to defeat the Jug Blowers. Mostly because I don't know what number 11 is, and I'm hopeful that it might actually do something good for me. So the Jug Blowers are defeated. They do not have a dangerous, so they don't attack me as they die. They're going to give me 1 spirit, so my spirit goes from 5 to 6. I get 1 green energy, so my green energy goes from 0 up to 1, and I'm going to get item number 11. Thank you, Mr. Jug Blowers. We'll just let you chill over there in your little defeated monster corner of the world. Number 11 is the Jug-O Swamp Juice. Equipment. Your attacks with a single target gain +1 range. Ooh, that is very nice. So we are equipped with that for the rest of the game. That is not a single use item. Some of the items are like discard after use, whatever. Some have multiple uses and have these tokens, and we'll kind of talk about that when that comes up. but that is just equipment for us to take advantage of, to always know that our attacks now have +1 range to them if they're single target attacks. That's really, really nice. It will help us kind of avoid aggressive situations and things of that sort. That was my second activation. I still have one more activation. I'm going to play dash. I'm going to play move 2. That's going to allow me to go 1, 2, and now I'm going to use the ally ability on the Shroom Walker, and I'm going to discard the Shroom Walker, so I don't get the benefits I would have gotten had I defeated it. Instead, I get the alternative benefit of item number 17. What's item number 17? Well, so item number 17 is a Monshroom Truffle, and what does that do for me? The Monshroom Truffle, I can discard. When I discard it, I gain 1 activation. I will save that for a while. It's a very nice card for me to have. So my turn is over. So I'm going to look at my activations. This now goes to the onboard side. So next time I activate this card, I'm going to be able to do 3 damage, range 0, cost 2 grit. And actually, because I already have the Juggle of Swamp Juice, it's now range 1 as long as I'm targeting a single target, which this ability definitely is. Landslide is going to go to the onboard side. I can move 1. I can spend 2 grit to move 3 spaces instead. And then here we have dash, performing the onboard ability of dash. You notice the names of the cards are the same on the top and the bottom. It just depends on whether you're in hand or on board. Dash, perform the following effects in whichever order you choose. Move up to 1 and deal 1 damage, range 1. And actually that is now range 2. Those are now part of my potential activations for next turn. That was technically phase 1 of my turn, the adventuring phase. And now if we're going to go with the game flow chart here, we have phase 2, the monster's attack. Am I in range of any monsters? No. This is range 2. I'm 4 away from that. Range 1, range 1, range 1, range 1. We're totally good there, not getting attacked. So we're just going to go to Dusk. In a lot of scenarios, Dusk would involve rolling a die, a little bit of randomness, doing some craziness that might make your life very difficult. None of that happens here, right? So there is no corrupted turn. There's no corrupted on the board to take a turn, and there's no corrupted turn effects otherwise. So we're just going to go to the normal Dusk stuff. What's the normal Dusk stuff? Well, once we hit the Dusk, we're going to spawn a number of Dusk cards equal to the number of champions plus 1. There's 1 champion, so we're going to spawn 2 Dusk cards. Where are we spawning them? Well, I'm going to roll these 2 dice. I rolled the symbol for Oppenheim, and I rolled the number 2. Oppenheim 2, this Dusk card goes there. It is the Herald of the Stag. It has 3 health. It attacks with an attack of 1, range 1. It has the ally ability. Each member of your team gains 2 health and 1 spirit. If I defeat it, instead of taking the ally ability, I would get 1 gold energy, 1 blue energy, and 1 green energy. We'll put that right there. We're going to have 1 more Dusk card entering the board. I rolled the symbol for Lunar Ridge, and I rolled a 3. So this Dusk card comes over here. So this is actually pretty fortuitous because I cannot put this Dusk card in number 3. It's taken. So I'm going to go to the lowest number available on the Lunar Ridge world tile, and it happens to be 1, right where I'm standing. Oh, and when you look at that, we have a major green rift. I'll talk about that once we get back to the adventure phase. The Dusk cards are always face up, whether they're rifts or whether they're monsters. The world deck cards are different because you know if it's a monster or an event before you flip it. If it's an event, it's face down until you stand on it and trigger it, and it's an automatic trigger. Or if it's a monster, it's face up. So we're done with the Dusk card phase, and now we go to my second turn, and we'll have a new round of turns. What am I trying to accomplish? These are good questions. This is like the absolute most ridiculous card for me if I can pull this off. I'm going to take care of this major green rift. Now, rifts are basically things that form in the worlds, and you're, as the champion, are going to go ahead and close them. And mind you, I should have pointed out some of the details of this mini. So there you have little Kaoru with its mechanical arm that it built for itself, and behind it is its fake friend bear that is just absolutely awesome. All the minis are just absolutely crazy in a really good way. So I'm going to take care of this major green rift. Now, automatically, since I'm dealing with this rift, I'm going to get the corresponding energy that's depicted. So I get 1 green energy. I have the opportunity to try to roll to get additional energy from whatever's at the bottom. When you're doing a test like this, there are 2 different kinds. Both of them will start with a number in a target. So this says 8. It's a major green rift. I need to get an 8 or higher in order to get this additional reward. How am I going to get to 8 if I only have one die? Well, this one says I can roll a die and then I can spend spirit to try to get myself up to 8. A lot of tests are the other way around, where it's basically you could spend your spirit and then you roll. So this gives us a little bit of control. So if I roll anything higher than a 2, I can spend the rest of the spirit I need to get the 8, get 3 more energy, which is going to allow me to get a green level up. Now, when you level up, I will not get the card from my level up deck until the end of my turn, but it'd be really nice to get up to level 5 on Dusk on the first day. That'd be pretty awesome. So hopefully I don't roll a 1 here. I rolled a 4. Perfect. I'm going to spend 4 spirit. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 that I rolled plus the 4 that I just spent allows me to get up to 8. That means I succeeded. I get 3 more green energy and I'm already up to 5. I also gain a dreamstone. The dreamstones are the item number 0 in all the decks. Dreamers find their way after dusk, rewarded with the first sight of dawn. This rift now just comes out of the game. What does the dreamstone do for us? You can discard it to spawn the top card of the current world tile on our space. You can only use 1 dreamstone per turn, while on an empty space, you can only carry 2 dreamstones at a time. Could look at the flavor text here. The Swamp O Jug Juice says the swampy bunch love to pretend their jugs are intoxicating, fooling their targets into a false ease. And then we have the Monshroom Truffle. Though many try to take a bite, Monshrooms are no snack. Rather, they're fuel for grand pyres, bellowing prophecy in their clouds of smoke. That was not an activation at all. That was just a random luck thing that I ended up with a rift under my feet and I was able to do something about it. So what do I want to do now? Well, I have nothing around that I can actually defeat unless I want to kill the Mazaru, which isn't awful. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to play Bear Friend. In hand ability, your next attack this turn with a single target deals +1 damage, costs 1 grit. If you have Kuma's might or Kuma's defense on the table, this ability is free. I do not have Kuma's might or Kuma's defense on the table, so I'm going to play Bear Friend. Again, it costs me 1 grit, so I'm down to 2 grit left. Remember, I do get back up to 4 in Dawn, and now my next attack deals +1 damage. Remember, my single target attacks have +1 range, which is ridiculous. I'm going to play Dash, which allows me to move up to 1 and deal 1 damage, range 1. Well, that actually becomes range 2, which is really nice. So I'm going to move here as my second activation. Remember, this wasn't free because I didn't have either of the other 2 cards on the table. We'll get one of those later. Spoiler alert. You'll see how that works out. I move up to 1. I deal 1 damage, range 1. Bear Friend makes that 2 damage. That 2 damage is enough to kill the Dream Hunter. The Dream Hunter is dangerous, but the dangerous only applies if I was in their range. I'm 2 away. They're only targeting 1 away, so they don't do any damage to me. They only had 2 health, so they were able to get knocked out by that 1 attack on my second activation, and that's going to give me 2 red energy. It doesn't give me anything else. There's no loot or anything like that, so we're just going to kind of get rid of that there. Let me put Hydra down here so I don't lose her underneath the growing pile of monster carcasses I'm about to throw that way. I could move on to this event and trigger that, but I really don't want to be within range 2 of Nyx and Erebos. That's not a great situation for me. Where I'm standing now, I will not get attacked. I'm going to try to defeat a boss in Dawn of Day 2. Not sure who is the best to try to do that to. Also remember, in Dawn of Day 2, there are going to be cards that are spawning in all the 2s. So I know a monster is going to spawn there, a monster spawning there, a monster spawning there, an event's going to be there. So those are all things to kind of keep in mind. If I head here, I'm going to get attacked by the Horrible Tangle. If I get attacked by Nyx and Erebos, not only will it give me 2 damage, if the critical hits, it will also make me pick up an onboard card without activating it. I still have 2 grit left, right? So I could activate Landslide and spend 2 grit to move 3 spaces. So that gives me a ton of flexibility that I probably want to take advantage of here. I don't like all these monsters being places I want them to be. Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to use Landslide. I'm going to spend 2 grit, so I'm down to 0 grit. Remember, the first grit I used was for Stoneclaw on the in-hand ability. Second grit I used was for Bear Friend on the in-hand ability. Now I'm using 2 grit on Landslide for the on-board ability. That allows me to move up to 3. Let me move 1, 2, and 3. I'm not in range of any monsters, and I don't have to worry about that event slowing me down. So the first thing I'm going to go after now is going to be the Tide Spirit. I should be able to knock that out next turn. End of my turn. This was on board. It now goes in hand. This was in hand. It now goes on board. This was on board. It now goes in hand. I'm going to take my level up for green because I did get to the number 5 there. Now, there are times where you lose energy. When you get defeated, you'll lose energy. However, say I got the 5, I get a card now. If I go back to 4, when I go to 5, I don't get another card. So that only triggers the first time you get there. My 2 options for cards are Rock Maul or Avalanche. Avalanche lets me deal 1 damage, range 3. On the in-hand ability, the on-board ability is deal 3 damage to all of the targets within range 1, cost 2 grit. Rock Maul is deal 4 damage, range 0, cost 2 grit. And the other side is you may ignore the monster keyword aggressive this turn. That onboard ability of Avalanche is very, very sick. And I think I need it. I think I need it. So we're going to take that. As much as I like that 4 damage from Rock Maul, the Avalanche card is cool. Does mean I might not be able to defeat that Tide Spirit the way I wanted to. Shoot. Still think that's the right call. It's just too good of a card. Nah, I want to get this thing moving. I really like that card though. Yeah, I'm going to take Rock Maul. I really want to get rid of that Tide Spirit next turn, so I don't really want to belabor that. As much as I might regret not having Avalanche later, I think Rock Maul is the right way to go. So we go to the monster phase. There are no monsters in range to attack me. And now we go to the end of the round. So what happens at the end of the round? Well, we get a World Shift card. Not a drop. Water is a delicate subject on this world. It's been the genesis of great societies and the cause of their untimely destruction. Hara's unique geography makes the sources few and far in between, and what little there is has been the catalyst for great strife. I can't help but wonder, what's the future hold for the waters of Earth? Thomas's log. Thomas is another one of the champions. So switch the location of the Lunar Ridge and the dojo. Now you're wondering why I had little spaces between these tiles. Now you know it's really hard to get these separate when you don't have a space in between them. So we're going to switch the location between the Lunar Ridge and the dojo, keeping the orientations the same. Then the player with the least total energy may choose to prove their worth. I will choose to try to prove my worth. It's going to be a little risky, but I have a shot here. So I'm going to take Lunar Ridge, and we have the dojo. That will go there. That will go there. So to try to prove my worth, I need to do a test, and the test is a 6. And this one is one of the normal tests, whereas I'm spending the energy first and then I roll a die. I'm going to spend all the remainder of my energy. So I need a 4, 5, or a 6 to succeed this test. I roll a 6. Yes, sir. So I keep this card in my inventory while on a space in the Lunar Ridge. My attacks with a single target deal +1 damage. So my attacks with a single target already have +1 range. And now they're dealing +1 damage. And I can see there's a bit of a glare over there. So let me see if I can't adjust this. And I'm going to put a reminder token for me on the Lunar Ridge. This is a token from the expansion, but it will do to remind me that I have +1 damage here. Because there might be more of those to track, and it gets a little hard to remember what's going on from game to game. Now we go to the rest of the beginning of a day process. It's dawn. What happens at dawn? Well, things spawn. This event's going to go in the number 2. And then we'll go here all the way around. A monster spawns in 2. It is a big brother. Armored ally. Transport to a space of your choice in the bayou if you use the allied ability. Or if you defeat it, you get number 13 and 1 blue energy and 2 green energy. We have a monster in space 2 of the Dreer. It is a carnivorous nether beast. Aggressive, critical, 4 health. It attacks 3, range 1. Critical, if you hit the critical on a 5 or 6 when it attacks, you lose 2 spirit. Again, it's aggressive. It will attack you as soon as you enter its space. If you defeat it, it gives you 2 blue energy and 2 red energy. The Erechi Waste monster is the Forgotten Guardian. For health, it has an attack of a 2, no range though. It's only going to attack you if it's on its location. It's armored and dangerous, so you can't attack it from an adjacent spot unless you can negate the armor. And it is dangerous, so if it dies, it will attack you upon its death. You get item number 14, 2 blue energy and 1 green energy. This is the Frog God. The Frog God is dangerous and has a critical ability when it attacks. If it hits the critical, it transports you to a random space in Oakenmoor. Roll the number die. 4 health, attacks 2, range 1. If you defeat it, you get item number 20, 1 gold energy, 1 green energy, and 1 red energy. And last but not least, we have an event in Oppenheim. 1, 2, and 3 are all taken. So this is going to go up there, the next available space, which is 4.
Oh my, kids.
So I was going to try to kill the Tie Spirit. I might try to kill the Horrible Tangle instead, because I could definitely use some spirit back, and that's the special loot. Don't love that aggressive ability, but we could do worse, kids. We could do worse. Honestly, since we have the extra range, we might not even have to enter its location anyway. In fact, we don't. So Bear Friend, this is a free ability. So I'm going to activate it, but it's free. So it doesn't count against my 3 activations. I gain 1 health. So I'm maxed out on health, and I gain 1 spirit. Remember, at dawn, my grit resets to 4. This is pretty sick. I'm now going to play Landslide. I'm going to choose any number of corrupted within range, including myself. I'm going to use that as one of my 3 activations. I get to move 1 space in any direction. I'm going to use a Stone Claw ability to deal 3 damage, range 0. Oh, it becomes range 1 because the Jug of Swamp Juice, and it cost me 2 of my 4 grit. Remember, that does not reset until dawn on day 3. That's 3 damage to the Horrible Tangle, and then I'm going to play Rock Maul. I'm dealing 4 damage more to Rock Tangle. Again, as another range 0 becomes range 1. That gets me up to 0 grit. Remember, if I have an ability that uses grit, I can always decide to spend health as grit as a 1-to-1 conversion. So now I've defeated the Horrible Tangle. Special loot, I get 3 spirit back. I get up to 4. I'm going to get 1 gold energy, 1 blue energy, and 2 green energy, 0 red energy. So the green energy gets up to there. I'm going to put the blue energy up here, and I'll actually go ahead and take another. Since I'm planning on defeating the Big Brother next turn, instead of using the allied ability, it's going to attack me for 3 now, which is fine. I'm going to use the gold energy from the Horrible Tangle as green. And then when I defeat the Big Brother, I'll get my ultimate card, which makes me happy. And the Horrible Tangle also gives me item number 22. That item is the Ancient Music Box. All players draw an ultimate card from their level up pile if able to. And again, that's when I discard, which is great, which means that I'm going to get the ultimate card when I get to 10. I'm going to get the ultimate card when I get to Dusk on day 3. And I should have a 3rd opportunity to get it, as long as I still have that Ancient Music Box, which I will hold on to for later. So it looks weird. I have 4 cards that are turned on their side, but remember, this was a free card, so it didn't cost me one of my 3 activations. This now goes in hand. This now goes in hand. This stays on the board. This stays on the board. In the monster phase, I'm getting attacked by Big Brother. Big Brother is watching and attacking you, clearly. So I go from 10 down to 7 because it does 3 damage to me. What a jerk. And now we're going to go to Dusk in day 2. So I'm going to take these 2 dice. I'm going to roll them twice because we have to put 2 more Dusk cards on the board. So 1 is going to go in Oppenheim on space 5. It is a Dawn Kirin, 4 health. Attacks with 2 at range 1. Special loot you may transport to the dojo. It gives you 1 of all 4 colors of energy. Remember, the gold is wild, so that's great. And then we're going to roll the dice again. The Dreer space 3. Space 3 is full with the boss. We'll put this over here on space 1. It is a Dusk Current. So we just had the Dawn Current. This is a Dusk Current, has 5 health. It attacks 2 at range 1. Special loot you may transport to the same space as any player who's not on the dojo. Obviously not great for us in a solo game. If you defeat it, you get 2 gold energy in 1 of the other 3 colors. We are now in Dusk on day 2. I would like to defeat Big Brother. Yes, I would. And potentially get myself set up to defeat Mr. Nick Cerebos here. One thing I should have said about Lunar Ridge is how that's worded is when you attack an enemy while standing on a Lunar Ridge space, you get the extra damage as long as it's a single target attack. If I'm standing in Oakenmore attacking a monster on Lunar Ridge, that doesn't apply. If I'm standing in Lunar Ridge and attacking a monster in another world, that applies. If I'm standing in Lunar Ridge and attacking a monster in Lunar Ridge, it applies. But it's a really nice ability. It's also maybe the only way I'm defeating this sucker. So I'm going to use Landslide. That's my first activation. I'm going to move to this space on Lunar Ridge. Now I'm going to play Bear Friend. This cost me 1 grit. Well, I have no more grit, so I take a damage. My next attack with a single target deals +1 damage. If I had another card, it would have been free. I don't. And now I'm going to play Stone Claw, deal 2 damage, range 1. Well, I get a 3rd damage because of Bear Friend, a 4th damage because I'm standing on a Lunar Ridge space. I lose another health there because that also cost me 1 grit, but that 4 damage is enough to defeat Big Brother. So I'm going to get 1 blue energy, 2 green energy, which gets me my ultimate card, which is amazing. And then I'm going to also get item number 13. Item number 13 says, whenever you spend the Dreamstone, you may look at the top 2 cards of that world deck, choose one, and put the other one back on top. I don't use the Dreamstones all that much. I probably could use them more as I get better at this game. I can kind of see more about that strategy. But again, the Dreamstones are just allowing you to kind of cycle through the world decks a little bit and choose what you want. See a bit of a glare and we're getting some more items. Let me get this up. Let me look at my ultimate now. Kaoru concentrates his energy so fiercely that for a few moments, Kuma folds back into a pile of stones. Anyone left standing must watch a tearful child reassemble his only friend. I mean, it's really sad, dude. Like, this can't be your only friend. It's not real, Kaoru. Someone needs to do an intervention. All right. Earth Sign Tectonics is the ultimate ability for Kaoru, at least for our purposes here today. Deal 1 damage to all other targets within range 1. Deal 2 damage to all other targets within range 2. And it says other targets because technically you are a target, so it's making it clear that you're not damaging yourself. And this ability ignores armored. Super nice. Cost 2 grit. Targets in range 1 take a total of 3 damage from this ability. So it's making it very clear that, hey, yeah, that does stack, which is really cool. One thing they didn't make really clear is that does cost an activation because it is a card. I scoured the rule book and then finally just was able to find a thread on BGG that seemed to say, yeah, it does cost an activation. It could have been a little bit more spelled out in the rule book for sure. End of my turn, I'm going to flip this to the onboard side. Stoneclaw also goes to the onboard side, and Landslide, that comes into my hand. Monster phase, nothing was in range to attack me. So now we're going to carry out the World Shift card. Yay! What's the World Shift card? Colors of Oppenheim. A crumbling metropolis that has seen one too many parties, the painted city is inhabited by monstrous primates and color-loving goblins known as the Goon Folk. Switch the location of Oppenheim and the dojo. Dojo's here. Oppenheim is over there. They're going to switch. Silly Goon Folk doing some things. Seeing those guys close is like, that's the kind of stuff that you're trying to combo with Kaoru. One of the reasons this Avalanche card is so attractive, because then I could try to do 3 damage, everything range 1. I just really wanted to make sure I kill the boss. Going back to this card, all players gain 1 red energy, and the player with the least total energy, obviously that's me in a solo game, gains 1 additional gold energy. I will put this on the red as well. Then all players must discard 1 item if able. I'll discard my Dreamstone, and the players that do so gain another gold energy. This is not on my turn, so when you get to a certain level not on your turn, you immediately do the level up. So let me look at the red cards. The 1 red card is Upheaval. The in-hand ability is choose 2 targets within range 3, including yourself. Transport those targets to any open space within range 2 of their current position. The other side is move up to 2, then deal 1 damage to everything on the same world as you, cost 1 grit. The other card is World Slide. Change the orientation of the world tile that you are currently on, cost 1 grit. And then switch the location of the world you're currently on with any other world, keeping the orientations the same, cost 2 grit. Kind of like Upheaval. I haven't really tried that one before, but I think that's going to work a little bit better for me in the long run. So let me take Upheaval. The backside of this says 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's right. I guess it is. I don't know. That is the World Shift card. We are now going to regain our 4 grit as we enter Dawn, and we're going to get new things placed around the board. So we have an event in the Dreer. The event in the Dreer is going to go in space 3 because it's the 3rd day. Nope, no room, so it's going to go in space 4. The Arechi Waste, we have a monster that goes in space 4. It is the Unplugged Crew. Unplugged Crew has 2 health, attacks 2, range 1. It's dangerous. 2 blue energy if you defeat it. The Bayou monster is going to go in 3. Nope, 3 is full. It goes in 1. It is the Bass Hunter. It has 3 health. It attacks 2, range 1, aggressive and critical. The critical roll would give it +1 damage. If you roll a 5 or a 6, when you defeat it, you get item number 16, 1 green energy and 1 red energy. Lunar Ridge gets a monster. That's going to go in 3. Oh, it won't. It goes in 1. The Gruffalo. The Gruffalo's making an appearance, kids. The Gruffalo has 3 health, attacks 2, range 1. When you defeat it, it gives you 1 gold damage and 2 red damage. It has armored and aggressive. The Oppenheim monster is going to go in the only remaining open space on Oppenheim. It is a Kikazaru. It has 3 health, attacks 1, range 1, special loot. You may steal 1 spirit from any other player. Obviously not that great for us. It has 1 gold energy and 1 red energy. You see the monkeys have the see no evil, hear no evil thing going on. And then the monster for Oakenmore is going to go on 3. 3 is open. It is a Lichen, aggressive, special loot, gain 2 spirit. It attacks 2, range 1, 2 health, and gives you 2 gold energy. Obviously, I'm already maxed out on my gold energy. So again, Lunar Ridge, if I'm attacking a single thing in Lunar Ridge, I get +1 damage, which is super good. Once we get the Dusk, remember, I'm going to get my ultimate back. I really need to use the ultimate card this turn before I get it back so I don't waste that opportunity. I'm going to use Bear Friend, gain 1 health, gain 1 spirit. That's free. So I have 3 activations left. So I'm going to use Rock Mall to ignore the monster keyword aggressive. That's free. My first activation is going to be dash. Move up to 2. 1, 2. No, that's not going to work. I need to get blue energy. So I'm not going to use Rock Mall just yet. I want to get my blue level up card. So I'm going to play dash as my first activation. Go 1, 2. I'm going to play Stone Claw. I'm on a Lunar Ridge space, so that effectively does 4 damage. It cost me 2 grit. So I'm going to have 2 grit left, and then I'm going to use my Earth Sign Tectonics as my third and final activation. So 1 damage to every enemy within range 1, 2 damage to every enemy within range 2. That actually does knock out the blue Riffling. That doesn't knock out the Gruffalo, but it does knock out the Bass Hunter. They don't have dangerous. They're out. That's actually 7 damage total for the Tide Spirit, which knocks them out. Then the Tide Spirit does have dangerous, so they will attack me if I was within range 1. Really, range 1 applies. I'm going to lose 2 health, so I'm down to 4. And then I'm also going to lose 2 spirit because I got attacked by that monster. We're going to go ahead and take all my rewards cumulatively. I get 4 blue energy. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to get 2 red energy. 1, 2. And I get 2 gold energy. I'll just use that on blue. Why the heck not? I'm going to get items number 18 and items number 16. Item number 18 is going to be a moon shard. Choose a player within range 2, including yourself. You may reset that player's specific resource to any position you choose. So I basically can reset my grit. Oh, and by the way, the ultimate did cost me my last 2 grit, so I might just use this right away. We'll see. Torn from the moon of a distant planet, the lunatics treasure the strange shard like they treasure the memories of their homeworld. Of course they do. We also get item number 16. Members of the shadowy band wear the mark to prove how tough they are. Unfortunately, the tattoos are temporary. Mark of the Hunter equipment. You may ignore the monster keyword armored. Huge. That's really going to help me take out Nyx and Erebos. I might have actually taken them out last turn had they did not had that keyword. So it's really nice to get that ability. So that's also another passive ability, just like the additional range that the Jug O Swamp Juice has given me. And in my turn, this goes in hand. This stays on board. This goes back in hand. Monster phase, the Painted Duke does have range to me where I'm at. 1, 2. So I take 2 damage. We're going to do a critical roll. It rolls a 4, so the +1 damage does not trigger. That is the end of the Dawn phase. We go to the Dusk phase. I get my ultimate card back because it is dusk in the 3rd day. And now we're going to roll the Dusk dice twice. I rolled the Oppenheim symbol with a 6. Well, there's no place to put it, so we actually have to re-roll those dice. I rolled the Erechi Waste symbol with a 2. 2 is taken up, so this goes in 1. It is a minor red rift. I roll those dice again. It is the Bayou symbol with a 2. That's taken, so this goes on 1. It is the Wayward Warrior. It has 5 health. It attacks 2, range 1. When this monster enters Hara, all players gain 1 red energy, and it's armored. Item number 27, if we defeat it, +4 red energy. I would like to defeat a couple of these jerky jerks. So we have 4 of the big bads left. So we have 5 turns left. We have 4 big bads, and then we have the Ancient Hydra at the end. Ideally, we get to a setup where I can kill 2 of these at once. I'm going to discard the Moon Shard now and reset my grit back at 4. Health at 2. I think this is going to be a little bit of a sacrifice here, but I think it's worth it for the cause, people. Your lives are a resource. Use them wisely. Words to live by. I'm going to play this activation with dash. I move 1, and deal 1 damage. I'm going to deal 1 damage. 1 damage becomes 2 to the painted Duke. I'm going to play Bear Friend. Your next attack this turn with a single target deals +1 damage. It costs 1 grit. Oh, before I do that, I never got my blue card for leveling up after last turn. That's important. So I have Kuma's Might, Kuma's Defense. Whenever you take damage from a target within range 2, you may spend 1 charge to deal that target 2 damage. Could be very strong. Kuma's Defense. Whenever you take damage from a monster or corrupted, you may remove 1 charge to prevent 2 of that damage. So you notice that big number there. When you play that card out, that power is in effect, and then it has a certain number of charges. So every time I use a charge, I just rotate it 1. When this goes from 1 and then it goes to the 4, well, obviously that doesn't make any sense. We just have no more charges left on it. And then there's the ability to pick the card back up. I think Kuma's Might makes the most sense. I'm going to need every bit of damage I can get. The first thing I'm going to do this turn is play Kuma's Might. Whenever you take damage from a target within range 2, you may spend 1 charge to deal 2 damage. That is activated. It will have 2 charges on it. Now I can play Bear Friend. Your next attack this turn with a single target deals +1 damage, costs 1 grit. So I go down to 3 grit. Doesn't count as an activation though, because I have Kuma's Might in play. That activation is now free. I told you it would come back. I told you. Now, my second activation, the first activation was Kuma's Might. My second activation is Dash. I'm going to move 1, deal 1 damage. It becomes 2 damage because I'm standing on Lunar Ridge, 3 damage because of Bear Friend being in play. And then I'm going to play Stone Claw. It costs 1 grit. I deal 2 damage. It becomes 3 damage because I'm standing on Lunar Ridge. That is enough to kill the Painted Duke. The Painted Duke has Dangerous though.
Oh no, what's gonna happen?
That's right. He is going to wipe me out, but he is also very dead. So he does 2 damage. I'm going to roll for the critical roll. Doesn't hit, but doesn't matter. Still 2 damage is enough to knock me out. I'm going to get 3 red energy, 2 green energy. Again, didn't really need either of those, but it's fine. And I'm going to get item number 5. I got knocked out. I go to the dojo. In the dojo, I lose 2 energy and I reset to my starting value. So I'm basically respawning. So I get a 9 and a 5. What's item number 5? Item number 5 is a chromatic converter. Says the Painted Duke keeps a fortune in his vault, but he never lets that dang orb out of his sight. Bick. The chromatic converter is equipment. When you gain energy from a rift or event, you may treat it as gold energy. Again, not all that helpful for me in this state of the game, but you know, another one of the big bads is dead. So we have 3 big bads left that started on the board, and then we'll have to deal with the Ancient Hydra. Don't forget we have our ultimate card on our hand, and then I also have an extra activation that I can use at some point, and I have the Ancient Music Box, which will give me my ultimate card back a second time for when I need it. So notice I did have to use that thing to give me my grit back, because if I had taken the 2 damage, I would have died before I killed the Duke, and that would have been sad for everybody. That is the end of Dusk. When you die during your turn, even if you have extra activations left, in theory, it doesn't matter. Your turn is absolutely over. You just go to the dojo and you think about what you've done. This is going to be on board. This goes back in hand. Rockmall's still on board. This is now on board with its 2 uses. This Stone Claw is also on board. We're going to go to the end of Dusk. That means we take a World Shift card. That F is very important. Torn asunder from the great forest, Oakenmoor bears a curse of a century-old sorrow, which causes its cuddly flora and fauna to undergo horrific transformations. Switch the locations of Oakenmoor and the dojo. That actually works out very well for me. It gets me down by Nyx and Erebos, who I am excited to try to add to my trophy case here. All players gain 1 green energy. The player with the least total energy gains an additional gold energy. And all players must pick up or put down an ability without activating it. I can ignore armored, which is just insanity now. So like, you ain't scary. I have +1 range. I'm going to put down landslide, not activate it. So it just goes to the onboard side. We now go to Dawn of Day 4. In Dawn of Day 4, we get a monster in the rear. 4 is full, so this goes in 5. I'll do the center next. Lunar Ridge has an event. It will go in the 4 spot. We have an event in Arechi Waste. 4 is full. It goes to 5. We have an event in the Bayou. It goes to 4. We have a monster in Oakenmoor. It will go into 4. And we have an event in Oppenheim. It will go into 2. My turn. 3 activations. Nyx and Erebos. It is time to face the music. So they do not have Dangerous, which is good. We defeated both of the bosses that have dangerous. So that will really help. This is wrong. Bear Friend should still be down. They went to the onboard side. So Bear Friend's there. That's a free activation. I get 1 health and 1 spirit. Notice I did start with 9 and 5 because I respawned. You can get up to 10 on both. It's not like a lot of games where you can only get up to your starting health value. So that's a nice thing to know. This is dawn. So my grit goes back to 4. All right. I'm going to use dash to move 2. 1, 2. Could have ignored the aggressive keyword. I didn't want to. This dude's going to attack me as I enter its space. It gives me 3 damage. I go down to 7. I'm rolling the critical die. I rolled a 4. If 5 or 6 triggers it, it doesn't trigger. Since it did me damage, I'm going to play Kuma's Might. I'm going to do 2 damage to the carnivorous nether beast. Now I'm going to use Earth Sign Tectonics. I do 3 damage to everything adjacent to me, 2 damage, everything 2 away. Again, you cannot do range through this deck, so that does not kill the red riffling, but it's 3 damage to Nyx, 3 damage to here, and I'd already done 2 because of Kuma's Might, 3 damage to the Dusk Current. The Dusk Current is obviously going to survive. It's onslaught, but at least this guy is out. It doesn't have dangerous. It does give me 2 blue and 2 red. Great. I'm maxed out on everything. And then I'm going to play Stone Claw. I deal 3 damage, range 0. It becomes range 1, and I can also ignore armored all the time, not just for when I'm using my ultimate, which is really nice. That 6 damage total allows me to destroy Nyx and Erebos. I'm going to get item number 25. I'm already maxed out on all my energy. The rest of this doesn't matter. It does not have dangerous. I don't need to worry about anything else on that card. Item number 25 is going to be what? Please be amazing. The Wraith Lock. Close a rift, range 6, gain 2 gold energy instead of its normal rewards. Not the most helpful. So we have another item. We get to the end of the turn. This goes in hand. This goes in hand. This stays on board. Oh, I did have to spend grit. I spent 2 grit for the Earth Sign Tectonics. This also cost me 2 grit. So I'm at 0 grit already, which is super great. We now go to the Dusk phase. I'm rolling the Dusk dice twice. Drear 3. So this card comes here. It is a minor green rift. And I rolled Oppenmore 4. 4 is taken, so I'm going to put this in 2. It is the Herald of the Serpent. 3 health, attacks 1/1 away. Ally, each member of your team may move up to 2. You get a gold, a blue, and a red energy. Oh, at the end of my turn, I would have been attacked by the Dusk Kirin. I would have taken 2 damage from that. Monster phase, nothing else is ranged. By some magical combination of stuff, I can make this work. Bear Friend, your next attack this turn with a single target deals +1 damage. It costs 1 grit. Since that costs a grit, though, I lose a health because, again, I'm at 0 grit. That doesn't count as an activation. I'm going to play Upheaval. Choose 2 targets within range 3, including yourself. Transfer those targets to any open space within range 2 of their current positions. This is within range 3. I'm going to put it there. This is within range 3. I'm going to put it there. That's my first activation. I'm going to discard the Monshroom Truffle to get me an extra activation. So I'm going to move that one there. I want to clear out Lunar Ridge a little bit, so I'm going to move the Gruffalo to Arechi Wastes. So again, with the Monshroom Truffle, I still have 3 more activations. No, I can't actually move the Grease Spear there. All right, I'm not going to move the Grease Spear because I can't. Gruffalo is here. I'm going to move the Dusk Kirin here. I'm going to move the Red Riffling here. So that was Upheaval. I'm going to use Dash to move 1, deal 1 damage, range 1. It becomes range 2 because of my equipment. And it's instead of 1 damage, it's actually 2 damage because of Bear Friend. So 2 damage has already been done to Greasebeard. I'm going to discard the Red Riffling to give me 2 health. So I'm up to 6. It's going to be very important. Now I'm going to use Landslide. I can move 3 spaces by spending 2 grit. I have no more grit, so that's 2 health. And I'm going to move on top of Greasebeard. He attacks me. What happens when he attacks me? I take 2 damage, but then I can use up Kuma's Might, and that does 2 damage back to him, and I can pick this card up for free. And then finally, with my 4th activation, remember I had a 4th one because of the Monshroom Truffle. You never know when a Monshroom Truffle not only hits a spot and satisfies your hunger, but allows you to pull something off that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So I'm going to play the Stone Claw. I deal 2 damage, range 1, cost a grit. That's my last health, so I'm alive to actually pull this off. So I had 2 damage from the Stone Claw, 2 damage from Dash because it was 1+1 because of Bear Friend, and then 2 damage because of the Kuma's Might. And that's 6 damage total, which allows me to kill Greasebeard. He does not have Dangerous, so he's going to chill. Oh, and when he attacked me, by the way, I should have rolled a die. Critical did not trigger, so that's fine. He's out. I get item number 23 and a bunch of energy. Item number 23 is the Captain's Hook equipment. Once per turn, I may spend the charge to deal 2 damage at range 1. So that will go there. I'm going to put a counter on that. We now go to the monster phase. I'm getting walloped by the unplugged crew. They defeat me. I'm going to go back to my starting spawn levels of 9 and 5, and I go back to the dojo. I lose some energy. Not a problem. So that is the end of Dusk on day 4. We now have a world shift card. Will be the last one of the game. Memories of Arechi. Once the home to an advanced aquatic civilization, Arechi is now an arid desert filled with ancient trash, discarded inventions, and an angry storm god. Switch the locations of Arechi Waste and the dojo. Oh my. That is exactly what I needed. This will come here. When I moved the other two, I couldn't actually move the Gruffalo. Gruffalo, get back to your home, Gruffalo. I moved the red riffling there because I needed that health. So that just was just an amazing sequence I was able to kind of piece together, which is really cool. At least I think it was amazing. You don't have to think it was amazing. That's fine. All players gain a blue energy, and the player with the least energy gains an additional gold. Then all players may move to... Oh my! I cannot let aggressive trigger right now, but I will move 1. Moving 1's fine. Great. Memories of Arechi for the win. So we're going to Dawn on day 5. We have one final sequence of spawning. So we get the monster from the Dreer. It's going to go into number 5. It is a Baku leak. We get an event from Arechi Waste. 5 is full. We put this on 3. Nothing can spawn on Oppenheim. It's totally full. Lunar Ridge, we get an event. It's going to go on 5. It goes face down. We get a monster in Oakenmore. It is a Teagle. It's aggressive and dangerous, I'll say. Obviously, it's a cross between a beagle and a tiger because that makes sense. And we have an event in the Bayou. It is dawn of day 5. Oh, I never did this. This goes on board, in hand, on board. I need to do 6 damage to Murky Murk. Don't forget, I also have the Captain's Hook, which is once per turn, so might as well use it this turn. So Murky Murk is aggressive. Critical is if I rolled a 5 or a 6, he would go back on top of the deck, which means I wouldn't be able to win. So that's not a thing that's going to happen. I'm going to do 2 damage to hit with the Captain's Hook. My grid is reset to 4, which makes me all sorts of happy. I'm going to get 1 health and 1 spirit for free from Bear Friend. 3 activations here. I cannot let that Frogod mess with me. Very bad. I do want Rockmaul back. Frogod's really messing me up. I'm going to discard the Ancient Music Box to get my ultimate card. This goes back to 22. Ultimate card, take 3. Thank you very much. So I still have my 3 activations because that was free. I'm going to play Rockmaul. I may ignore the aggressive keyword this turn. It's huge. That's also free. Upheaval, move up to 2, deal 1 damage to everything on the same world as you. So I'm now in the Bayou. Everything there gets 1 damage. That was my first activation. That cost me 1 grit. I'm down to 3 grit left. I'm playing Earth Sign Tectonics, and that does 3 damage to everything within range 1, 2 damage to everything 2 away. And since I did 2 damage to Murky Murk from the Captain's Hook, 1 damage from Upheaval. Oh, Upheaval also gave me 1 damage, and then 3 damage from Earth Sign Tectonics. It is dead. And that 3 damage will also kill Frogod, because remember, Frogod took 1 damage from Upheaval and also 3 damage from Earth Sign Tectonics. That gives me now to 1 grit left, which isn't ideal, but I think it will do. When these guys go out of play, I get items number 6 and 20 and a bunch of energy. But again, we've already done it. By the way, I should keep track of how many times I was defeated. I was defeated twice. Again, you can be defeated twice. If you're defeated the 3rd time, it is game over. So 20 is the most in the Bayou choose to forget their tragedy. So I'm still like small memorials and send them off into the enchanted waters. The Frogod gives me equipment. All challenge ratings on rifts and events are reduced by 2 for you. That's very nice. And number 6, what were you? Number 6 is Murky Shreds, both on stage and off it. So Murky Murk is like some weird rock musician kind of thing going on. It's an electric axe. Your attacks against players are corrupted, deal +1 damage. It's kind of not great in a solo game, which is totally fine. Earth Sign Tectonics is out. I will not get my ultimate card again. That was only my 2nd activation, though. As soon as I defeated the 6 bosses that were on the board to begin the game, the ancient Hydra is like,
I'm gonna spawn in your dojo. That's right. Making of a man. See what happens.
now I do want to make sure I killed the 6 bosses. I definitely thought I beat this before, and I was like, oh wait, I never killed that guy, did I? Look at that. It was Nyx and Erebos. They were just chilling in the corner in the drear. My last activation, since I know that we're not playing a world shift card because we're going into Dusk, I will play Kuma's Might and get that on the board with its activations, which could be very, very nice. The Ancient Hydra has aggressive, armored, and dangerous. It does have the boss symbol. It is the boss of the Dusk deck. Clearly, it has 7 health. It attacks with a 3, range 1, and you get that 7 gold energy like I mentioned earlier. As we go into Dusk, we will do the normal dusky things. Well, let me get this set. So this goes in hand. This is in hand. This is in hand. Very nice. Yeah, getting 7 damage on this dude will not be hard because I have a Captain's Hook and some really strong things in my hand. So let me roll for the Dusk for 2. We get a Rechi Waste, gets a Dusk card in the last open spot. It's another Dawn Kirin, and I rolled that. It's a Bayou 2. We get a Herald of the Worm. It's an ally. Each member of your team gets a Dreamstone when you discard it. How do I want to do this? I have 3 activations and only 3. It's armor, but I can ignore armor because I'm a beast. Yeah, let's just do this the most obvious way. I'm going to play Dash with my first activation. It goes in there. It attacks me for 3 damage, but then I'm going to use that. I do 2 damage back. I'm going to use this equipment up. So that's another 2 damage. So that's 4 damage total. We just need 3 more, and then I'll play Rock Maul, deal 4 damage, range 0. It cost me 2 grit. I only have 1 left, so that takes a damage. Upon its death, because of dangerous, it deals 3 damage to me. 1, 2, 3. But I have survived and defeated the Ancient Hydra. Yeah. This game is nuts. It's really good. I don't know why I like it so much. In some ways, it just is different and it appeals to me. It's a really cool puzzle. It's very tight. It scratches a lot of the same itches of Cloudspire and a lot of the same itches of Mage Knight and a lot of the same itches, from the zany factor of like Too Many Bones. It just brings together some really nice strategic thinking. Killing all 7 of those in 10 turns is like, all right, well, how can I possibly piece that together? I don't think I did it the most efficient way. I do think Avalanche is probably the better way to go with this. I just knew I was in a place where if I take an Avalanche, I wasn't going to be able to kill something. When you stack Avalanche and your ultimate card, that gives you a real chance to kill multiple of the bosses in the same turn. I mean, the other thing is, World Slide can be really strong because it allows you to change orientation and then allows you to switch locations of worlds so you can get 2 bosses together and then stack it with Avalanche and with your ultimate. And that's probably a more straightforward way to do it. The way I did it, piecemealing Kuma's Might, piecemealing that 1 damage that came with that other red card, but that came in huge. I mean, being able to all right, do 1 damage to the Frog God, do 1 damage to Murky Murk. I stacked that with the Captain's Hook that I had and stacked that with the ultimate card, and all of a sudden, I wiped both of those guys out. Just didn't have to worry about it because the last thing I wanted to do was get attacked by the Frog God. And remember, if his critical hit, he would have thrown me off into Oakenmore, and that's not good because I needed to be close to the dojo because I know that's where the Ancient Hydra was spawning. So I definitely got a bit lucky with a lot of how the worlds moved. It just seemed to move me right where I needed to be. I mean, the dojo go from here to here. Now look, it's gonna move, right? The bayou's there. If the dojo switched with Lunar Ridge, that'd have been fine. If the dojo switched with Oakenmore, that'd have been fine. I had enough movement cards and enough ways to get some damage. I think it would have been doable. Obviously, Oakenmore would have been 4 movement to Murky Murk. This was only 2. Lunar Ridge would have been 3. This was only 2 where the dojo ended up. If the dojo was here, it would have been 3. So it did work out the exact perfect spot for me. And you do need to get lucky with some of these scenarios. That is without a doubt. The next scenario is the scenario with Leaf, who has some crazy cloud thing coming out of his head. I don't know really what's going on, but it's totally a thing. I think there are a lot of archetypes in anime and whatnot that I just don't know. Maybe I don't know how much of this comes from anime. This is anime, but then you have see no evil, hear no evil, and you have the Gruffalo, and you have all these other just crazy like ideas is thrown together in a way that this shouldn't work, but it just totally does for me. I still don't understand the world more. I know there is some lore somewhere in here. We're protecting a dying paradise, and we're trying to contain the conflux, a hub of unstable energy. It's just crazy, dude. There's like story arcs I don't fully understand, and I think that's part of the draw for me because I'm trying to get it as I go, and it's like this is this crazy world I just want to learn more about. This is just interesting and it's different. I like it. And it's not like this generic fantasy. It's not going to ever replace Maze Knight. The mechanics of Maze Knight just sing too much to me, but this one has got a lot going for it. Doesn't seem to be much scalability. Like this is it. These are the challenges. Figure out a way to do it. I do anticipate doing some more of the solo scenarios. We'll come back with Leaf. I was talking about his crazy hair before. So Leaf, he has this thing where he's just trying to throw a big party. And to throw a party, he needs to get 7 allies together. And we need to get the Bayou and Oakenmore adjacent. So this would have been perfect. You get full energy and all things, but there's also like this die that rolls like at the end of every turn. There is like a corrupted turn, and a 1, 2, or 3, you're taking 3 damage. You can only be spawned once. If you get a second doom token, then you're dead. So you actually get an extra life in the first scenario. That's a really cool challenge. I do find it in some ways easier than this, but we'll see how that plays out. You know, if you like the puzzly games, this is something to put on your radar, and if you can find a way to pick it up, I'm pretty sure it's out of print. I got mine in a math trade. This was by far the one I was the most excited to get. I have not played all the heroes yet and seen kind of all their mechanics and how they work. The lack of transferability of a champion to another solo scenario of another champion is obviously a detriment to the game and not absolutely great for replayability, but it does seem like when I'm playing the 2-player scenarios that I can mix and match heroes a lot more. So when I'm playing like Kaoru's 2-player scenario, I can throw in Leaf if I want, or Thomas, or whoever else is in there. Soph, I think, is the name of another one. So there's 6 champions in the base game. They all have their own little minis. They're pretty cool. And then you have, again, 4 new champions in the expansion. The expansion also adds extra monsters and events, but there's like balancing things that happen. I just don't want to deal with it. So I'll throw the expansion content in the future. If this is a game you want to see more of, definitely let me know. I'd be really curious to see what the appetite is for Champions of Hara. And if you absolutely freaking adore this game, great. Let me know that. If you just really bounced off it for whatever reason, yeah, I'm curious to know. There's still a little bit I need to learn about, you know, some of the controversy per se and just how little this game has been supported by the publishers. I really love this game, man. We did it. We dashed, we rock mauled. It was exciting times, man. Wow, we could have killed him with the stone claw. We had everything. We had the rock maul, we had the stone claw. Man, that Hydra had no chance. Who needs your Ursine tectonics when you have a rock maul and a stone claw back? That was definitely one of the limiting things. Like that rock maul, I should have used it earlier. I kept getting into a place where I wasn't using it because I wanted the aggressive to trigger. I should have just wasted it as a free thing earlier so I can get that 4 damage back, because it made a lot of the piecemealing up to 6 a lot trickier. I mean, this was nuts. You're having to get that 4th activation, moving the Kieran out, moving that thing here, moving on to that, getting the 2 health, getting attacked with the aggressive, like just having to do that, being in a place with my health meter where I had to do things in certain orders. Otherwise I was going to hit 0 before I actually killed the captain. And that would have been really, really bad. So there's no margin. I mean, you get that late in the game, you're going to die when you get retaliated by dangerous. You can die in the monster phase. But at some point in this scenario, if you're not killing at least one of the bosses every turn, you are in trouble, because you're not going to be able to kill a boss until your 3rd or 4th turn anyway. And there's 7 of those suckers. So you really have to find a way, like, I need to kill a boss every turn. I need to kill a boss every turn, which is why it's so hard to choose between these powers sometimes, where you're like, oh, I might really need to rotate a world, but I might be okay with just kind of moving the targets, right? And going through these cards as closely as I did on this video, like there are definitely cards I never took before, but I'm like, oh, I kind of, having played this game more, I looked at it with some new eyes. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad I read that out loud on camera and realize that, hey, maybe that's exactly what I need, or a strategy I can try. So there is some depth there. I mean, you can definitely try this scenario with like, hey, I'm going to take these 3 level up cards this time and these 3 level up cards the other time. If you play through some of the like story mode campaign and you want to unlock your alternate ultimates, that could probably add some, wrinkles. If you're playing two-handed, you're getting 12 really solid scenarios to play around with and explore. So, there's definitely some value there. And you get the expansion, getting another 8 if you're playing two-handed. And it doesn't seem like it'd be too much to two-hand this game. And if you've two-handed like Jaws of the Lion or Spirit Island, like this is not going to be much. And I love that mechanic of like, hey, the cards are on the board, everything's in front of you. It's a very clever system. If this was more supported, I wonder where they could go with it and what they could do with it. It just looks cool. It looks cool when you get to the end of the game and you're just like, see this world that you've kind of built as you went. And it's super interesting. We never did any of the events, or we did the one. That's right. We one that kind of fell under us and it was perfect. Just look at this world of color that has been built. I guess I could just put the dojo on this side. That might make it differentiate more from the rest of the land because you're not putting things on there like you are with the other tiles. It's a really striking table presence for sure. There's nothing else quite like it. Just from the colors, Madara is the only thing that I think would kind of evoke any kind of the similar aesthetic. This was super fun. Glad we got a win on the channel. Introduced Champions of Hara like a champion would. That is for sure. If you want to see what's coming up in the next few weeks in Solo Playthroughs Land, you can go on my Patreon page. There is a link in the description below. On my Patreon page, I put a public post out at the end of every month, about a week before the month to come, with the schedule for that month, and then a sneak peek about what's to come down the pipe the month after that. While you're there, if there is a tier of support that makes sense for you, come on board. There's more than enough room. I appreciate all the support I get for this channel. Thanks to my patrons. Thanks to everyone else for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, and for telling all your awesome friends about this channel if they are at all interested in solo gaming. I definitely have enjoyed seeing this channel grow and get bigger and better over the last couple of years. And that is indeed thanks to all of the viewers who have come along with me on this solo gamers journey. And we will continue this journey next time on Solo Playthroughs. Until then, happy gaming.